good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. It's about 20 to 10 in the morning, and this is another Kyiv walking tour. It's a special one because it's 9/11, and I'm going to talk about what it was like to be in Manhattan on 9/11. But before I do that, I want to turn the camera around here, and I want to point out to everybody, again, I have mentioned before, but if you look, you can see that this corner, has recently been made handicapped accessible. Now, the fact that we are in the midst of this war, and the city has made this commitment to make the city more accessible to those returning from the war with, a lot of these guys are coming back in wheelchairs. See a way to partner with the city of Kyiv and help get a spraying program in effect, because they don't have the money. I mean, there's no way that they're going to be taking care of these trees the way that they need in the middle of this war. Hey, Tina Erasmus, how you doing? How's everybody doing this morning? For those of you who are on, we're already out of there, never mind. Hey, Space Ghost, how you doing, pal? We're walking around Kyiv here. You can hear the traffic. I'm sorry about that noise. That's going to continue. But we're out here walking around Kyiv to show everybody just what a modern, major European capital city this is, and how well the city is managing in spite of the war. Is it your signal that is currently buffering? It could be. Oh, the weather's great, Kiwi. The weather here, I mean, it's been a glorious, glorious summer. And it's turned into a glorious fall, or it's turning into a glorious fall. Hey, Grotland. And it does remind me, I mean, today, look at that sky. Look at that blue sky up there. Clear as an azure sky of deepest summer. Clear as an unmuddied lake. And it's exactly the sky that we had over Manhattan on 9/11. I mean, this could be that day. It's warm. It's in the mid-70s. The sky is crystal clear. I remember that day because of trauma, that's why, right? Trauma indelibly links our memories to our consciousness. And my ex-wife and I were living in Jersey City at the time. And I used to take the PATH train from Exchange Place 4 minutes over to the 6th sub-level of World Trade II. That's where we got off. And then I'd switch to the NR to go uptown. And that morning was so gorgeous, and I was out the door just a little bit early. I decided to take the long walk down by the East River. So I went down past one of our favorite places to eat at the time was the Iron Monkey in Jersey City. So I go down past the Iron Monkey, straight down to the water, and I walked along the waterfront. And I remember staring at the sun over the Twin Towers. And I thought to myself, if I ever get tired of this view, I am checking out of here. Little did I know that by the end of that day, not even by the end of that day, within the next 4 hours, that view would be indelibly changed. I took the train over to Manhattan, 4 minutes into World Trade Center 2, the sub-basement of World Trade 2, and I hopped on the NR uptown to 42nd Street and 6th Avenue. We had two offices, one in the Grace Building across from Bryant Park, and another one down at 40 Broad Street, right next to the Stock Exchange. And boy, I was glad that I wasn't downtown that day, that's for sure. By the time that my train got to 42nd and 6th, I came up out of the subway, and I knew immediately something was not right. Because when people come out of the subway, they keep moving, right? They're on their way to work, they're on their way to meetings, they're on their way someplace. Not this time. When people were coming out of the subway, they were turning around and looking downtown. Because in the 12 minutes or whatever that we were on that train, and we had to be one of the last NRs out of World Trade that day. Because within that 12 minutes, the first plane had hit. And I remember standing on 6th Avenue with everybody else as the traffic began to dry up, right? Emergency crews went into place, shutting down bridges, shutting down tunnels, clearing the streets. And we stood there watching the building burn. I didn't know what to do. I had to go to work. So I walked the half block to the office. And the receptionist, Alicia, was behind the desk, ready to greet me with her usual smile. Only this time, she said, "Did you hear? A small plane hit the Trade Center." I'm like, "I saw it, it's burning." She said, "Yeah, we know." I went to work. It was playing at the back of my mind, but nobody understood the implications when that first plane hit. It wasn't until the second plane hit that we knew that it was an attack, that we were under attack. And I want to point out to everybody that attack is the only time in history that Article 5 of the NATO Convention was ever invoked. And it was invoked on our behalf. And I do not believe for 1 second that it is an accident that on the 24th anniversary eve of 9/11, Putin attacked a NATO country. And let's call it what it is. It's an attack. I know all the politicians are saying that it's a provocation. Well, you can call it what you want. But armed aircraft of the Russian Federation invaded Polish airspace, NATO airspace. And they had to be shot down by NATO and Polish aircraft. Don't tell me that's not an attack. It's an attack. It's a justification for Article 5. But the political will does not exist for people to send their sons to Ukraine to die. And so they're calling it a provocation. Let's see. How can I get around here? And I understand, right? NATO isn't fake strong the way that Putin is fake strong, the way that Trump is fake strong. NATO is actually strong. If NATO wants to come into Russia and into this conflict, it will be over very shortly. But everybody is afraid of those nukes. Kiwi Annie, if I jump on a scooter, that defeats the purpose of the walk. That absolutely defeats the purpose of the walk. I'm out here trying to get my steps in, trying to be a little bit better. Hey, Craig, Heroin Slava. So I get to the office on 9/11. I start my day. And it's not until the second plane hits that we understand what's going on. And we all leave the office. By this time, there's no traffic. All the cars have been stopped somehow, magically disappeared from the road. No taxis, nothing in the streets. We stood in the middle of 6th Avenue, Avenue of the Americas, right at 42nd Street, watching the towers burn. Watching the towers burn. And then, of course, the inevitable happened, and the first of the towers fell, which no one could believe. We were stunned, absolutely stunned. And all these conspiracy theorists who want to claim that it was an inside job are idiots. The towers were built to pancake in the event of an accident like the one that happened. Or not, if in the eventuality of an accident, right? This was not an accident. This was an intentional, deliberate strike at the very heart of the United States. We're walking through downtown Kyiv here. Or uptown Kyiv. I'm not sure. We're headed downtown. Julian, that's all we could do is watch it. Now, little did I know at the time, my wife went into work about an hour later than me. So she never went into work that day. She was on the roof of our apartment with our neighbors in Jersey City filming the towers burning when the first tower fell. And I'll never forget it. It sends chills up my spine to this day. The first words when that tower fell out of one of my neighbors' mouths was, "What about all the firefighters?" And as we all know, 314, if I remember right, that's just my faulty memory, but if I'm not mistaken, it was 314 firefighters that died almost instantly when that first tower came down. I knew so many people that worked in the towers. A buddy of mine from college was lost in that attack. Another friend of mine escaped. She had actually been working in the towers in '92, the first time they tried to blow them up, if you remember that. And my cousin John was part of the security team that went in after the '92 bombing to assess what could be done to prevent future bombings. And let me tell you something, this is the genius of America, right? This is true. 343. Thank you, Julian. 343. Ugh. But this is the genius of the American model. You know, these security guys went into the World Trade Center after the '92 bombing, and they said, what can we do so that this never happens again? Well, they did some math. Here's the beauty of math. This is the size of a box truck you would need to blow up the Twin Towers. So let's make the entrances smaller than that so that a box truck of that size can't get in. And you know how they did it? Fucking spray foam. It cost almost nothing. But they minimized the size of the entrance so you could not get a truck in with enough explosives. And that's why Osama bin Laden had to hatch his plane hijacking terrorism. I'm standing, so shortly after the first tower fell, I was standing with a bunch of my colleagues in the middle of 6th Avenue, looking down Avenue of the Americas, which is a straight shot to where the World Trade Center used to be, right? And we see the cloud of ash and dust, pulverized glass, concrete, and humanity from the crematoria that followed in the air. And just one tower standing and burning. And of course, it wasn't much longer before the second tower fell. We were all stuck there at the office. There was nowhere to go. No trains were running. Nothing was happening. And so we clustered around the TV as the reports of the Pentagon came in, as the reports of Shanksville came in, as the rumors flew about other attacks, and tried to make sense of it all. I got a cranberry muffin from one of my favorite places that is no longer there. They made the best cranberry muffins, these guys. And they're now gone. About 2 o'clock that afternoon, just about 2 o'clock, the people from the 40 Broad Street office started coming into the office at 42nd Street. They were covered head to toe in that toxic, poisonous ash from the fall of World Trade. We tried to help them get cleaned up. Some people had extra clothes in their lockers. We tried to freshen them up. Some people had some minor scrapes and bruises. We got out the med kits and did what we could. That's all there was. Space Ghost has an archive of that day. Dude, it's worth preserving. You know, we really, you know, the big thing was we'll never forget, never forget, never forget, right? Well, somehow we seem to have forgotten, because the path that America is on, the path that it has been on since that day, one of fear and fear-mongering. You know, I often ask the question, when the fuck did Americans become so afraid of everything in the world? Well, oh, I wonder who that is. Well, of course, it was 9/11. You have an aging population that's increasingly fear-based in their outlook toward the world. And then you have a major attack on American soil, first time since World War II. And that's how the fear crept in. And it's been there since, driving, poisoning our political discourse. Yeah, man, I'm in Kyiv. This is beautiful downtown Kyiv. Look at this. You gotta love this place, huh? This is a thriving metropolis of 4 million people that is completely unbowed. I mean, this city may be bloodied by the Russians, but it is unbowed. Hey, laddie. Hey, Feisty. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. We're going to come down here. This is Gulliver. Gulliver's got two complexes. The office complex that we're passing now, and then the mall. It's a mall. It's a nice mall. It's too nice for me to shop at. I cannot afford it. It's all, you know, Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Roy Robeson, people like that. Zadig and Voltaire. Oh, sorry, I forgot. The importance of not forgetting. The lesson of 9/11 is not that we should be afraid. The lesson of 9/11 is that we remember our allies. We remember how our allies came to our defense. Right? That's the important thing. The only time in history that Article 5 has been invoked was on behalf of the United States, and we have a president, so-called, who sits in front of a camera, lies to the American people, and says, do you really think if we were attacked, our allies would come to our defense? When they did, it flies in the face of all history, all rationality, all reason. Chinese boy, we're in Kyiv. Just keep your eyes open. I mean, it's ridiculous here. I'll tell you right now. It's ridiculous. It's funny. This is a true story. I was standing on a corner the other day just waiting to cross the street. And I just casually looked around, and the thought occurred to me, there are more beautiful women standing on these four corners waiting to cross the street than I would see in 6 months in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's just a reality of being in Kyiv. So the lesson of 9/11 is not that we should live in fear, not that we should become xenophobic, not that we should send immigrants out of the country or persecute them the way that we are doing right now. No, that is not the lesson. The lesson is that our allies matter and they stand by us. And what Trump has done by saying that they wouldn't come to our aid is spit in the face of our allies and the most important lesson we learned from 9/11, that the world would be there for us. And they were. They absolutely were. Hey, look at that pre-revolutionary architecture over there. All painted in that reassuring Habsburg mustard. And then some Soviet brutalist architecture over here. Look at this place. That just screams Stalinist era, doesn't it? Here's a metro. The metro here is great. I'm a big fan of the metro. It's nice to be back in a city with a subway. The subway in Manhattan was one of the best things about the place. Now, I took this longer walk to the store today because I want to show you this. This is Olimskaya, the Olympic Stadium in Kyiv. It hosted in 1980 some European football matches for the Summer Olympics. But it was not built for that. It was actually originally built in 1923. And it was called the Red Stadium, of course. It went through a bunch of changes and renovations over the next 60 years. At one point, it was actually called Khrushchev Stadium for Nikita, if you remember old Nikita. And then in 1980, which you will remember the Winter Olympics in 1980, was the great Miracle on Ice, right? Where the U.S. hockey team defeated the Soviet hockey team for the first time in history. The Miracle on Ice year. That summer, I don't think the U.S. was fielding a soccer team at the time, but this was the site of the soccer matches during summer games of 1980. It didn't actually get the name Olympic Stadium until after the breakup of the Soviet Union. Nikita Khrushchev, Morgan, yep. This used to be Khrushchev Stadium. Who's that now? Kylie-Ann, I've been in Kyiv for 2.5 years now. I arrived on February 24th, 2023. Look at these old pre-revolutionary buildings here. Now that's a newer construction. That's like I would bet that that's post-World War II, that one. That's when that gold brick was so commonly used here. And most of the neighborhoods that use it are from that time. And then again, more pre-revolution. But there's Olympic Stadium. Just on the subject of this being a very modern European capital. Was Khrushchev Ukrainian? Is that true? I don't know. Is that true? A lot of the leaders of the Soviet Union were not Russian. Stalin himself was Georgian, educated as a priest. You know, as one of my heroes, Christopher Hitchens, was fond of saying, educated as a priest, if Stalin wasn't prepared to take advantage of a deep well of credulous peasants who would believe anything that you told them, he wouldn't have been much of a dictator. Nope, this is Kyiv, traveler. We're in Kyiv, Ukraine. Let's see, how can I cross here? Let's go this way. That's Olimskaya right there. Right, Morgan? Was it 1954? That's when Khrushchev said that Crimea was Ukraine. And it's been a problem ever since. Well, it's been a problem longer than that. It was 1792, right, that Catherine the Great came in. Her and Potemkin fucking things up. I don't know what the UPPS store is. Look at that high rise, that modern high rise up above that pre-revolutionary building on the corner there, adjacent to this Stalinist modular construction that you see right there. Look at that, that's interesting, isn't it? That's got some Art Deco elements to it, but it looks like a mishmash of kind of pre-revolution Art Deco. I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know when that, or maybe those glasses are additions. That could be. But look at that, that's classic Europe right there. Oh, now this place I've been in, it's basically a movie theater upstairs, and then a lot of casting offices, rehearsal spaces. Much of it is shut down right now. These look like ads for films that are currently playing upstairs, which, believe it or not, the movie theaters are open. Although you're always taking a chance. Any place that lots of people are gathered here becomes a target very easily, very quickly. Where are the Tesla charging stations? They do exist. Some of you may know David Fraser, who most of his social media is UA flag Tesla. He's got a Tesla that he goes around Europe with and parks in front of Russian embassies. And every time there's an air raid in Kyiv, he blasts it out over the speakers. Or he just blasts Ukrainian music at the Russian embassy. I mean, it's a great protest mechanism. You really got to give the guy credit. Tesla. What about Absolute Tool? I don't know what that is. I don't know what you mean. But here's a great example. This little sculpture garden, which we'll take a look at in a minute. And then there you've got, wow, that's photorealistic. I'm not sure that that's painted on. I'm not sure what that is. But these murals are all over town. Murals like this. In terms of the sculpture garden, right, here's the entrance. And this, 100-kilo bronze piece is just swings around like that so you can enter. And then we've got a bunch of cubist pieces here. the ziggurat, with the person as the foundation of the society. And then this wonderful kind of cubist love seat. I don't know who this guy is. If he's anybody, or if he's just meant to be an ROC priest, maybe. I don't know. Some more wonderful cubist benches. And then this piece over here, which I've never been able to really make any sense of. Probably if I could translate that, it would be meaningful. No, I can't. It's a place of something, the place of something. But that's all I got. Okay. So let's come on down here. Oh, look at, you can see the, see the electric trolleys. Morning, Seawolf. You may be right. There may just not be any water to it, and it might be a water feature. I don't know. Oh, look at that apartment block over there with the transom, so you can walk from building to building. And then I don't know what that feature is supposed to be on top of that building. That's interesting. There's the golden domes of Ukraine, probably a Ukrainian Orthodox church. Although, as everybody is probably aware, the Russian Orthodox Church which is nothing but an arm of the Kremlin, a political arm, political tool of Russian oppression, is still active here in Ukraine. And many Ukrainians belong to the ROC and fervently believe everything that their priests tell them. It is a cult of the Slavish mind. Morning, everybody. We're down by Olympskaya Stadium. The Olympic Stadium, built in 1923 and then later adapted for the Olympics in 1980, where soccer matches were held. When the Soviet Union hosted the Olympics in 1980, which, as every American will recall, was the year of the miracle on ice, when the American hockey team beat the Soviets, who had dominated ice hockey, because of course they do, because half of their country is in fucking Siberia. It's above the Arctic Circle, no wonder. Look at those golden domes. Boy, the religious love gold, don't they? They just can't get enough gold. Only gold can touch the Holy Eucharist. We need more gold for Jesus. Calling it a propaganda machine is polite. It's a tool of oppression, is what it is, for the credulous. Not soccer, football, thank you, my friend from Europe. European football. It's a great town. Oh, the religious don't care what Jesus said. Come on. You know better than that. The only thing the religious care about is what the people will believe, what they can make them believe. Talking snakes and virgin birth. Bears that tear children apart because they dared to make fun of a bald man. Where's the moral lesson in that? Oh, it looks like they're doing some work on this church. I don't know if that's just normal work or if the church got hit. I mean, lots of buildings in downtown Kyiv have suffered damage from Russian strikes. So I don't know. It's all about the gold, Seawolf. Gotta have that gold for Jesus. Only gold can touch the divine Eucharist. Ugh, these fucking people. Right now there you can see a construction project that is, I think, stalled, as a large percentage of the construction here is stalled and has been since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And that's a shame because the place was undergoing a real boom. I counted 105, I think, sky cranes when I first arrived here, and 92% of those projects were stopped. Now that number's gotten better. A lot of them have restarted. Oh wow, I never noticed. Look up there. Do you see the roof of that building? They've got a garden, a rooftop garden with trees and flowering plants. Gorgeous. Jack Daniels, is that your drink, Seawolf? P, I'm in beautiful Midtown Kyiv here. And again, let me just point this out, just in case there's any arborists or arborist society people here. Kyiv's tree, the symbol of Kyiv is the chestnut. And there is an aggressive fungal blight killing these chestnut trees all over the city. I would love to find some arborist organization that could killing these chestnut trees all over the city. I would love to find some arborist organization that could. I've been here 2.5 years. It's a great town. I highly recommend it after the war. Or if you're going to come during the war, come with a plan. Figure out how you're going to be helpful to the people that are here, because they sure could use a hand. Now this is one of the many public theaters. Let's see. Teatra, right, theater. There's no TH sound in Ukrainian. So Teatra Operetsi. Operetz. Operetti. Oh, operetti. Theater of opera. It's the theater of light opera. And they did the Addams Family musical here, which they did in Ukrainian. And I do go see things in Ukrainian if I have friends in them, but it's very difficult because I don't understand a thing. Now, Chicago in Ukrainian was easy because I have the entire libretto to Chicago in my head. So that was not a problem. JD, why? Oh, JD says Ukrainian is not a language. Interesting, JD. You're the kind of son of a bitch I block. Just like that. Ukrainian is not a language. Are you fucking kidding me? It's a language with 254,000 words in it, with multiple dialects from east to west. The banning of publications and education in the Ukrainian language was first banned in 1796 by divine decree of Her Majesty, the Tsarina of all the Russias, Catherine the Great. Yeah, as a Slavic language, it certainly predates English. I mean, Old English is what, 700 years ago? Come on. People have been living in Kyiv. In Kyiv, this city celebrated this year its 1543rd birthday. Ukrainian's not a language. Get the fuck out of here. Catherine the not so great. Well, I don't know. Her horses thought very well of her. Breathe, hugs, thank you. Morning from Erpine, we got a local on here. Hello, neighbor. Hold on, let me get into the shadow where I can see this thing. I'll give you the glorious expanse of Olemskaya Plaza here over to the Theater of Opera. Neil, you're in Erpine, are you? Hey, Webadeb. Hey, Webadeb. Long time no see. How you doing? Catherine the Terrible. Neil, K-A-U-A. Yeah, we're neighbors. Hey, pal. You should come out some night. You know, we do open mics in English every other Tuesday at the Underground Stand-Up Club. Right, Morgan? Moscow was a swamp when in Chernihiv there were academies and there were universities. So please, give me a fucking break. Have a good day at work, Lars. You up late, Webadev. Yeah, you'd have to be, pal. Morning, Renee. Yeah, dude, Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we'll be at the Underground Stand-Up Club. Come on into town. Kat, it's... let me tell you something. It is embarrassing to be an American in Ukraine. You tell people you're an American, they want to shake your hand and thank you as if you had anything to do with any help. And now, of course, we're struggling with this nightmare of Donald Trump who won't do a fucking thing for these people. It makes me crazy. Thanks, Caroline. It makes me absolutely crazy. So for the most part, now, look, I've run into people that don't like Americans, of course. Lots of people don't like Americans. With good reason. We're loud, we're obnoxious, we're always the center of attention. And we absolutely believe that our way of life is the best way of life there is because of all the evidence that indicates that it is. They're so polite, I'll tell you. It was a great relief to me after about 12 months in this town to meet a bunch of British and Scottish and Irish guys that I could go out with and say terrible things to them to their faces, and everybody had a good laugh about it. That is not how things are. The Ukrainians are very polite, generally. They can also be very direct. Bernard, the problem with saying something like that Trump does not represent the views of most Americans, that while it may be true, the fact is that he's in charge right now and setting policy for all of us. And everyone seems completely unable to stop him and his illegal tariff war, his illegal deportation of immigrants and suspension of due process. The list goes on and on. Well, Kat, you know, what I think your comments there expose is one of the realities of immigrant populations in the United States and in the West, is that they don't want to be deported, right? They don't want to be sent away. And so they tend to be more well-behaved, commit less crimes, be more polite. And that has consistently been a fact that the Trump administration insists is a lie, much to the detriment of us all. Much to the detriment of us all. Nebraska's finding out, boy. Nebraska's finding out. It's 1 a.m. where you are, huh? Good night, Webadeb. Right, and they pay taxes. You got these Polish right-wingers trying to cut off all the funding for Ukrainian refugees in Poland and talking about how they got to get them out of there, when in fact the Ukrainian refugees in Poland have contributed, I forget the numbers now, I want to say it's 3 billion US more than it's cost to have them there. I mean, can people not do math? Kat, where are you? Where do you live? I'm just wondering. Like what country? You're not in Poland, are you? Thanks for sharing the live, Carmel. Let's see if we can get across here. Boy, if I could find a quiet cafe where we could sit down and I could have a coffee and we wouldn't disturb anybody, I'd like to do that before we go to the grocery store, because right down there you can see is Mega Mart, so that's where I'm headed. There's nothing down that way. Let's see if this place is amenable to us live streaming while we have a coffee. Ukrainian's not a language. Oh, sushi and pizza. They may not be open yet. They are not open. What do you think? You think we could hide in here for a minute? Maybe we could. Okay. Oh, this is Mafia Pizza, which I have never been in. But everybody says is pretty good. They've got a bunch of them around the city. That's fair, Kat. I apologize. No, the coffee here is terrible. They all think it's great, but it's not. It's really not good at all. And so at home, I brew Starbucks for myself. That's what I think good coffee is. Where does one get a morning beer here? That's a thing. You could do that. You want to see Ukrainian coffee options? Well, we could probably find a place. Let me sit down for 5 minutes, and then let's see if we can't find a place. So, I know, Hobo, it is funny, right? It is funny. I know it is. Australia and Italy have the best coffee. They may have the best coffee. I don't know the answer to that. I have never been in either of those places. The thing about Ukrainian coffee is that it's chewy. I swear to God, these people don't understand that coffee filters have been invented. It's insanity to me. Thanks, Trevor. It's absolute insanity to me. So you get these cups of coffee. They are dark, they are bitter, and they are full of grounds. Not what I'm interested in. But I get a big part of my medical clearance to travel today. Good luck, Julian. Let me know what happens. Good luck. Okay, so you want to see the coffee options. If you're an American, you will be shocked that there is no normal coffee, like what we would think of as normal coffee. What the Ukrainians call filter coffee, right? Which puts it in stark opposition to the fact that they don't use filters. And so your coffee is always chewy, which is just insane to me. You know, we're living in the 21st century. We have fucking coffee filters. Well, you're certainly very welcome, Cap. Thank you for your kind words. Right, the Turks are the same way. The Turks are the same way. And there's a lot of Turkish. Clearly, the Ukrainians got coffee from the Turks, because there's a lot of Turkic influences in Ukraine. There's a lot of Turks in Ukraine. A lot of Turkish restaurants around. So that's what they do, Cheshire. They do the usual latte, espresso, cappuccino, and Americano. And Kat, that's fair. I put it out there. I'm a Starbucks guy. If you're a person that looks down your nose at Starbucks, you and I are not going to go to the same coffee joints. It's just that simple. Now, I'm a big fan of chai, right? But I've never had Indian coffee. I don't know even what that is, Kylie. Yeah, it's about 80 degrees, and I wore a long sleeve, and long pants. I should not have done that. The walk down here is about 3 kilometers. Morning, Andy. And it's on its way to 80 degrees, like 29 Celsius. So I did overdress, I'm afraid. I'm a big fan of 100% Colombian, but my favorite is Sumatran. Of all the coffees in the world, Sumatran coffee has a rich, complex flavor that I just adore. Yeah, it was very cool this morning. It was in the 50s. But now as time has gone on, it's gotten much warmer. Okay, let's see. The staff is out here setting the place up, so I'm going to flip the camera back around. And let's go take a walk and see if we can find a coffee shop that's open. And I can give you some idea of that. There's someplace across the street there. There's got to be someplace with some outdoor seating where we won't disturb the other guests. Georgian Bakery. A lot of Georgian restaurants in town. I didn't ever have Georgian cuisine before I came here. And I've become fond of it. There's a lot of good food in Georgian restaurants. If you've never eaten Georgian and you're someplace where there might be a Georgian restaurant, I do recommend giving it a try. Wow, take a look at that fuchsia. What great color. Dobry den. What great color. Misto markets, they're a chain, they're everywhere. They're like the Ukrainian Wawas. Oh, it's too bad these guys aren't open. Damn, man. We got nothing here. Oh, wait, what's that? I can't tell. Is that outdoor seating? I can't tell. Well, let's go take a look. Flowers everywhere in this town. I mean, just fresh flowers on every corner. Kyiv, flowers. Aptekas. It is amazing. You can get almost anything over the counter here. The only time I was ever asked for a prescription was for antibiotics. Oh, wait, there's a Eurasia. Perfect. Okay, so Eurasia is a chain, which means that they are very predictable. The menu and the consistency of the food is wonderfully consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get there. So maybe maybe they're not too busy. We can find a table that I can keep yelling into the phone at. Now this is Cyrillic, of course. But if you look at this, it's Eurasia is what that says. The B is a V, the P is an R, the Z is a 3. Oh, look at these Dusty Millers need a drink. These marigolds didn't make it. That's too bad. Look at these. These are red coral bells. In the garden, these are a perennial in most zones. Most everybody on this call could plant them and have them. Oh, good. Here we go. We'll just go over here. We'll sneak into this corner. And we'll get some coffee. Why is Snowden still hiding in Russia if Putin and Trump are buddies? That's a great question. Probably because, hey, David Frazier's here. We were talking about you before. And Jeeps for Peace. Americano with milk?
Milk.
Milk.
Dobra.
Coffee. And water with gas. Voda z gazem. Lodem. Ice.
Ice. Lid. Dobra.
Lid. Coffee.
Dobra. Deserty?
That's for now.
Dobra.
Thank you. So is it a fusion restaurant? Not really, right? Because fusion restaurants, like my favorite food in the world, Chino Latino, you get mangoes and pineapples along with rice and pork and beef and chicken. Chino Latino, that's fusion. The restaurants here don't tend to be fusion as much as they tend to be multi-menued is what I would call them. So there's a burger menu, there's a sushi menu, there's a pizza menu. They don't blend the tastes as much as serve a variety, much like any good Greek diner in the United States, right? Hang on, I'm going to switch sides here for the light. Okay, that's a little better. So you will see, I mean, the Ukrainians love their burgers and they love their sushi. And so you will see burger and sushi places everywhere. Like, it's astonishing to me. It's such a strange kind of thing. We have pizza, sushi, and spaghetti. There you go. The thing about this town is that it's extraordinarily difficult to find any good Italian food. There is not an immigrant Italian population here in any size. Finding a decent red sauce is next to impossible. I've given up on it, and I make my own red sauce at home when I want a red sauce. And that's an undertaking. That's an endeavor, you know? I don't know to what extent the beef is raised here or is imported, Cat, but I can tell you that it is very difficult to find a decent cut of beef. A ribeye steak, a 6-ounce ribeye, in the local market here will sell for 1,000 hryvnia. That's $25 US. Very difficult to find a good cut of beef that you can afford. Very, very difficult. Kiwi Annie is making sushi now for dinner. For 6 ounces, Cat. For 6 ounces. There is this myth that Ukraine is inexpensive. It is not. A recent survey, especially since inflation and the devaluation of the dollar, it's become much more expensive. There was recently a study done that the average American grocery bill is $1.50 more than the average Ukrainian grocery bill. So you've got a population here that's making 1/10 on average what the average American is making, and you've got groceries with the same cost. You can imagine what that does to the cost of living. Talk to you about. I swear to God, I know that waitress from someplace else. No, it's probably just a small gene pool here. No, I swear I do, and I've never been in here before. So Hobo, there is one place, one Mexican place in the whole city that I have found. It is owned by an American, and it's authentic Tex-Mex food. You know, nachos, steak fajitas, and when I need a Mexican, I'm so grateful for that place because it really is like a taste of home. Morgan, I'm sorry, I don't know what the cost of living in Spain is like. I cannot make that comparison. So, Kat, normally, under normal circumstances, there is a booming local fishery business, right? Because they're on the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. And so normally the commercial fishermen and the independent fishermen sail out of Odessa into the Black Sea and harvest the catch for the country. That is not happening today. It couldn't even happen if the sea lanes weren't mined, because the Nova Kakhovka Dam ecocide put so much free fresh water into the Black Sea that the last I saw, the sea had been desalinated by 40%. 2 years later. And so people are catching river fish, freshwater fish, in the Black Sea. And the salt fish have all moved so far offshore, you wouldn't be able to catch them if you could go out to sea, which you can't. So one of the reasons why the GDP for this country is down by 46% from its pre-war level is because industries like that have simply been killed by the war. And so seafood is expensive, right? Seafood that shouldn't be expensive because it should be harvested locally and fresh is a problem. It's a problem getting it now. It's a problem getting it. Totally, Kylie. This country's having a hard time of it. And despite that, I have to tell you, the people are amazing. I mean, I'm here for 2.5 years, right? When I was home in the United States, I mean, I would get into a fight with people on the street every time I went out. I'm sort of a dick. And when I see people doing shit I don't think they should be doing, I fucking say something. Here, I can count on the fingers of one hand the altercations that I have had with Ukrainians. What food do they have a lot of? They have a lot of Ukrainian food. I can't show you a menu because since COVID, there are no more menus. Everything is electronic, right? Have I ever had anyone tell you that you should leave and not be there? Warren, I think somebody did once. The only thing is they only spoke Russian, and so I didn't understand anything that they were saying. I just told them to go fuck themselves and kept doing what I was doing. I do think this one guy did. He was very pissed off. I was with my buddy Dragon, who's with the Black Lakes Battalion, right? And we were in the storage facility that was hit by an Iskander M. So we're standing there in the wreckage of this building, and I'm recording. And this guy starts yelling at me in Russian. Now, I can't even tell the difference between Russian and Ukrainian, but Dragon said it was Russian. And Dragon suggested that the reason that he was yelling was because he was there looting the place, and he didn't want it to be on film, is what it was. Not that he was on film or the subject of my filming. I met a really nice guy that day. This older gentleman who was there with his daughter and her husband. And they were trying to salvage out of their storage locker what they could. The doors had been bent in two on the storage locker. And these were heavy steel doors. They were just smashed like tissue paper. And inside of the storage locker, everything was covered in a kind of toxic soot, right? You know, the solid rocket fuel or the jet fuel that's in these missiles is extremely corrosive. And so everybody had a lot of personal protective gear on. And what was in the locker, right? We were just talking about groceries and how expensive groceries are here for Ukrainians. So Ukrainians grow a lot of their own food. Everybody's got a garden. Everybody pickles, everybody cans. And this storage locker that this family had was a larder. It was where they kept all their canned fruits and vegetables for the next season. And it was all poisoned. All poisoned. The national dish I can't write TikTok banned it. I don't know what that means, Morgan. I don't know what you're talking about. The national dish here is sallow, right? And it's also the reason you can't get good bacon in this country. Here, all the pork bellies are rendered down for lard, right? What we would call lard, what the Ukrainians call sallow. And that sallow, which is, I mean, let's face facts. If that's what you're eating, you're living in a starvation economy. Now, my one neighbor does make a very good herbed sallow that on black bread is delectable. Like, it's a great way to start a meal. Sorry, Kylie. We'll tackle that next. So, Kat, I don't do anything here except spend all my time on social media trying to convince my fellow Americans of the importance of the continued defense of Ukraine. And you can see I'm not doing a very good job of that because we are not coming to Ukraine's defense. On the contrary, we have abandoned this country. Officially, technically, from a governmental standpoint, America is an enemy of Ukraine right now. It is. Oh, the soup, borscht. Of course, borscht is the national dish. My Ukrainian instructor, Igor, tried to teach me to make borscht, and it turns out he's not much of a cook, but I am, and I make a good borscht these days. Thanks, Mark. I'm trying, pal. So, well, Kat, let me expound. Let me answer Kylie's question. So, like most Americans, when the invasion of Ukraine happened, I mean, I remember I was prepared to stay up all night because I was sure that it was going to happen. Only I didn't have to, because when the troops started coming in, it was only 10:30, where I was well, at that time I was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So it was 10:30 in the evening, and the reports started coming in that 250,000 Russian troops were pouring over the Ukrainian border. And I thought, well, that is a shame. Like, it's a shame we're going to lose Ukraine. Because I was sure, like everybody else, that Ukraine didn't stand a chance. And then over the next couple weeks, the story of Hostomel Airport came out. We saw that 41-kilometer-long line of tanks, armored vehicles, and fuel trucks come to a stop and then never move again. We saw the Battle of Kyiv and Russian forces expelled back to Belarus from whence they came. And by then, I was cheering every night on the news. And by then, too, like, you know, amateur social media channels were popping up, like Jonathan M.S. Pierce in Great Britain, who is a great resource on this war, and who for the next year I watched every day. Ukraine the Latest, the podcast. I started listening to that every day. I became right before the invasion. The only thing I knew for sure about Ukraine is that that's where Chernobyl was. and Crimea. That was all I knew. The whole annexation of Crimea back in 2014, I was a single parent during that time. I don't even remember that being on the news, right? Like, I was unaware that that had even happened. But watching the news reports, watching what was happening, knowing that Russia is our enemy, is the enemy of every democratic society in the world, and knowing that Ukraine, as an emergent democracy, was doing what it could to move further west, right? More aligned with the EU, a member of NATO, etc. I was immediately on the side of that emergent democracy in the face of this genocidal lunatic in the Kremlin. And for a year, I was obsessed with this war and learning everything I could about Ukraine. I read Borderlands, which is a great book I recommend. Other books on Ukraine that I recommend: Night Train to Odessa, On Freedom. Oh God, I read a bunch of other books too, about the history of Ukraine, the current political situation, etc. Anything by Timothy Snyder is worth reading. Kat, you can't tell the president anything. Forget it. Forget it. It's pointless. Hey, Morris. Now, Mark, during this period, the first year of the war, when I didn't know anything and I was learning about the history, it became abundantly clear to me that the annexation of Crimea was for one reason and one reason only. In 2012, natural gas reserves were found there, and the proven natural gas reserves are huge. At the time, Vladimir Putin had basically a monopoly on pipeline gas to Europe. If Ukraine was allowed to develop that natural resource, they would threaten his pipeline of cash, and he couldn't have it. It's my opinion that that is absolutely the reason that he started the Donbass war and took Crimea. I agree with Morgan there, that's really the underlying cause. And all this other stuff, Heroam Slava, and all this other stuff about his legacy and Russian-speaking people is just window dressing for his avarice and greed. That's all it is. So, oh, Kat, I'm deeply sympathetic to being a Trump orphan. I'm deeply sympathetic. Thanksgiving 2016 was when I got thrown out for suggesting that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. And that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So Kylie, hang on, I'm not done yet, because I didn't get here until February 24th of 2023, the 1-year anniversary of the war. What happened was, over that first year, I was thinking about trying to come here and do something. But every time I looked at it, I didn't have any skills that anybody needed. I have no military background. I have no weapons background. I have no medical background. I don't have those tools. So none of the NGOs that I talked to identified me as having a skill set that they would sponsor me in Ukraine. But I kept thinking about it, and I kept looking at it, and then in early January of 2023, it was just after New Year's, I was out with some friends. We were at a biker bar in Erie, Pennsylvania. And the bartender, now we're talking in very loud voices about how our government's response to Ukraine is inadequate, how we should be sending tanks, how we should be getting Abrams over here, how we should be sending missiles, Tomahawks, JDAMs, and we're not doing it, right? Bartender comes over, puts our wings down, and says, "Petey, you're listening to all the wrong people. There ain't no war in Ukraine. It's all a hoax so the Biden crime family can launder money. That's the air raid siren you're hearing. We're under air alert. You know what, here, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see how Ukrainians respond to an air alert. Just watch. Nobody's running for the shelter. Nobody's even stepped up their pace. It's not going to happen. Because if you ran every time, you would never get anything done. It's just constant. It's every day. So, this guy says this unbelievable Russian propaganda to me in a biker bar in Erie, Pennsylvania. Are you fucking kidding me? So we got our wings to go. I remember this night very specifically. Hey, Renee. I remember this night so it's etched in my mind. We got our wings to go. We went back to my place. I yelled. They sat there in silence eating their wings while I just ranted for 45 minutes. And then finally they went home. And I immediately got online. I booked a flight to Warsaw and a sleeper car to Kyiv. And I was determined to figure out some way to be of help. Correct, Jampido. Anytime, anywhere. Absolutely. So I was absolutely determined to be of some help. And of course, the news was full of these stories that Putin might pull some shit for the 1-year anniversary. And I thought to myself, if there's a real emergency, like a nuke, a heavy missile attack, something like that, then Ukraine would need every able-bodied person they could get, right? Like, there would be something to do. You could sweep up glass, if nothing else. And so I was determined to be of some use. Now, fortunately, I have an arts and entertainment background, right? I'm a failed actor is what I am. And I found an English-speaking theater company here that would sponsor me for a 3-month volunteer contract. And so I came here for 3 months on a volunteer contract with this English-speaking theater company. I put in hundreds of hours of volunteer work during those first 3 months. I did more during those first 3 months than I had done in the last 3 years of my personal life. And it was all very rewarding. Julia, I appreciate the sentiment, and I understand where you're coming from. But let me tell you something. I owe Ukraine so much more than Ukraine owes me, that I will never pay this debt, no matter what I do. So anyway, you know, frankly, it's not Ukraine that should be thanking Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the Western world should be down on their hands and knees thanking Ukraine for being the shield to Europe that it fucking is. And they should remember that the only people bleeding and suffering and fighting and dying for the cause of democracy and liberty right now are these people. Oh, it's okay, Mark. You know, one of the nice things about Eurasia, like I said, as a chain, they are very consistent, so you always know exactly what you're going to get. And one of the nice things about Eurasian coffee is that it's always ground free, unlike so many other places in this town where you're chewing your coffee. The Flying Dutch Mom, Flying Dutch Mom. That's great. That's really a great handle. That's a great handle. Okay, that's a great handle. Wow. The attacks on 9/11 changed my life inexorably, just like the full-scale invasion of Ukraine did. And I'm not one of these self-flagellating liberals who blames the West for all the evils of autocracies. I certainly don't blame us for 9/11. And I certainly don't blame the Ukrainians for the invasion of Ukraine. The only person to blame for the evil that has been visited upon this nation is the gremlin in the Kremlin, the genocidal lunatic, Vladimir Putin, who has robbed the Russian people not only of every dime he could steal, but of their very future. Exactly. Ukraine stands for. Now, look, they don't have much of a choice, and they're fighters, right? The first and foremost reality is that they are fighting existentially for their own existence, their own sovereignty. A side effect of that is that it protects Europe. And what Donald Trump and his gang of ghouls and goblins fail to understand is that American security and prosperity is absolutely dependent upon European prosperity and security. And if European prosperity and security are threatened, then American prosperity and security is threatened. And he has forgotten that is the great lesson of 9/11, that when we were attacked, our NATO allies stood by us and said, an attack on one is an attack on all, and we will be there for you, United States. And then they followed us into Afghanistan and Iraq. And none of that should be forgotten. It is the great lesson of 9/11. And yet our president has the nerve to say, do you think if we were attacked, they would come to our aid? I don't think so. I don't think so. And his idiot maggot followers, these cultists, lap it up as if it were true, when history demonstrates to us the exact opposite is the fact. I don't know, Mark. Entirely possible. As I understand it, two of the best UFC fighters right now are from Georgia, and the heavyweight champ of the world is Ukrainian. Oh, Julia, you're not wrong. Julia makes the point there in the comments that, speaking, I assume, as a Ukrainian, Julia, you are right. We don't have a choice because all of us will die or be executed or kidnapped. The evil that Vladimir Putin has visited upon this nation. Now, people will argue with me that it's not a genocide. Well, I'm sorry. If you ban education in native language, which is what's happening in the temporarily occupied territories, just like Catherine the Great tried to ban the Ukrainian language, and like that troll was saying before, Ukrainian isn't a language. Fuck off. The Russians have been trying to stamp the Ukrainian language out since 1796, when Catherine the Great first banned education in Ukrainian and the publication of any writings in Ukrainian. They're doing it right now in the temporarily occupied territories. Revisionist history are appearing in the school curriculum history books. And then, of course, there is the uncomfortable reality of the stolen Ukrainian children and the nightmare fate and torture that awaits them. The UN just published a good report on this. As a parent, I find it very difficult to talk about. But as a person interested in just how evil Russia is, if you can gird your loins and read some of the documentation in that UN report, I think you'll understand very clearly why Russia must be destroyed. It's just that simple. Thank you, Yulia. Thanks for tuning in. Wait, are you the one in Irpin? Are you the neighbor? Because somebody else was here from Irpin before. I don't know if they're still here. Putin in The Hague is my fondest wish. It's not going to happen, right? Because when the end comes, the Russian people will have him swinging from a lamppost in the Red Square if they don't just tear him to shreds. That is his fate, inevitably. But it would be so great to see him in The Hague and served some actual justice. Yes, it would. Oh, I know where I know that waitress from. She works at the Eurasia by me. That's why I know her. Oh, that's funny. He doesn't have allies, Kat. He has employees. Let's be honest. All these bastards that are betraying America right now are taking payoffs from Vladimir Putin. It is the corrosive influence of Russian corruption in America that has gotten us Donald Trump and his gang of ghouls and goblins. We just caught them, right? They spent $10 million on those right-wing advocates repeating Russian talking points to the American population in order to poison our political discourse. Make no mistake, the first step toward ridding ourselves of Donald Trump and his bootlicking fascists is to take out Vladimir Putin and destroy the Russian Federation as we know it. That's exactly what we have in the United States. A cheap Timu dictator Putin knockoff. Charlie Kirk was one of them. I'm not crying any tears over Charlie Kirk. I am not one of these liberals who's going to get up there and say, oh, political violence is never right. Fuck them. Fuck them in the ear. These bastards have created a situation where the people are going to put them all up against the wall. Make no mistake, the fate of Charlie Kirk is the fate that is coming to every one of these sons of bitches that have betrayed the Constitution, betrayed every principle that makes us Americans. I'm happy for Charlie Kirk's children. Happy for them. Why? Because they will grow up without the perverse version of America that he made a living selling to fools and sycophants and sadists. I do not give one flying fuck about Charlie Kirk. Trumpers didn't cry last month. What was last month? I don't know what that's about. Let me tell you something. These bastards have no loyalty. Charlie Kirk is going to be forgotten so quickly. It'll make your head spin. A year from now, nobody will remember who Charlie Kirk was. And the good ones twice. Okay. What time is it now? How long have we been live? Oh, Flying Dutch Mom, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm really very laser focused on what's happening in Ukraine these days. And I'm not even aware. Oh, wait, was that up in Minnesota or someplace? Montana? A couple of Democrats were executed by some crazy right-winger. I think I saw that. Cat, that seems extremely unlikely to me. The only person Donald Trump wants statues of is Donald Trump. He's not elevating anybody to any status above himself. Forget it. Minnesota, back in June. Okay. I do remember that vaguely. I didn't... Yeah, no, I mean, the hypocrisy from these bastards is inevitable because they have no real principles. Just hatred and fear. That's all that they offer the world. And unfortunately, the world has bought into it. And a large part of that has to do with the aging nature of the American population. People are just living too long. And when you get to be old, you get afraid. Because the end is coming for you. You know? Oh, that's a sin, Cat. That's a sin right there. Oh, hey. Do you work on Лесі Українки?
Ні, вам на Лесю Українку, так?
Yeah. Do you work there?
Ні, зараз.
She does. She's from the other Eurasia. I know she is.
Це Велика Васильівка зараз.
It's okay. I can't get to Google Translate. Let's see. Yes, it is. Thank you. Дякую вам. Дякую вам. Oh, God, I gotta learn this language. My Ukrainian professor retired from the university here and went to Poland to be with his wife and daughter. And my Ukrainian lesson stopped. I am embarrassed to say now, holy cow, it's got to be almost 2 years. That's bad. I keep thinking I'm going to just run into somebody that'll be a good match for me, but it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I got to get the shopping done yet, and I got a couple other things to do. Paulino, how you doing? No, I should be, Julia. You know, I've been here for 2.5 years. I should be able to do more than ask for a loshka when I need it, you know. Anyway, so just before I go, I want to remind everybody that this is the anniversary of 9/11, and that the great lesson of 9/11 is that our allies are there for us if we don't spit in their faces. And that I do not believe for 1 second that it was an accident, that Vladimir Putin attacked a NATO country on the anniversary of 9/11, the one time Article 5 was ever invoked. And Donald Trump and his gang of goblins and ghouls want us to forget that our allies were there for us and turn our back on them now that they need us. Interesting, cat. Send me a DM. The two languages are so very different, Yulia. I feel like you almost have to rewire your brain. I mean, I can't even say that this is mine unless I know the gender of this thing. And that's a very different way of looking at the world from English. Very, very, very different. Thanks, Warren. Hey, Dive Hard. Nice to see you, buddy. So just before we close out, are there any final thoughts, questions, comments from anybody about anything Ukraine related? Paulino, if you don't follow Paulino, my buddy Paulino here, Paulino's real good on Ukraine. I highly recommend giving him a follow. All his postings are cross-posted, both in Paulino, I don't know, what is your native language? And in English. And so I think he's a very valuable resource. Right, the Romance languages have those male-female definitions. English barely has it at all, right? It's certainly not like a fundamental requirement. Knowing the gender of a thing so that you can say it belongs to you. There's 3 different words for mine, and each one of them varies depending on the gender of the object, if it is male, female, or neuter. Do you know Deep State has only update to 7.9? They haven't updated anything since the 7th of September, is what you're saying. Could be. I don't know, Paulino. I haven't looked today. And today is only the 11th. Now, my guess is, I can tell you what my guess is. And boy, I hope I'm right. But the Ukrainian Air Force has been demonstrating air superiority all along the northern front. just hammering Russian positions and troop concentrations with French-made AASM hammers for the last 3 days. Additionally, you know how Pokrovsk is semi-encircled, right? It's like if my nose were Pokrovsk City, Russian troops are around it like this. Well, that northern flank is crumbling. There are hundreds, if not by now thousands, of Russian troops encircled who are doomed to either surrender or be unalived. And it could be that we're waiting for those battles to see what happens, because the situation north of Pokrovsk is tenuous. If the Ukrainians are unable to consolidate their gains and cut off that salient, they're going to be pushed back. But if things keep going in the direction that I believe they are going in, they are going to cut off that large salient to the north of Pokrovsk and encircle them. And that's going to cut that crescent just about in half. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's taken them 26 months to get the 60 kilometers from Bakhmut to Pokrovsk. It's taken them 13 months to get 15 kilometers into the outer reaches of Pokrovsk. It has cost them tens of thousands of lives. It is a nightmare before God that no sane nation would tolerate the thoughtless loss of life the way the Russians do. But back home, the women are all happy because they keep marrying men that they send to the front, and then they collect their bonuses when they're dead. I saw a video from one woman who was coaching other Russian women on how to do this and telling them who they had to pay off in the Russian recruiting system so that they would get a fresh recruit sent to them, they could marry him and claim the bonus. A court in Bryansk just demanded the return of 3 million hryvnia from a widow who engaged in this scam. So the government is starting to get onto them. But that's a real thing. That's a business. That's a cottage industry in the nightmare that is the Russian Federation. Yes, it is. It's insanity. But everything that they have done the last 3.5 years has been insane. No, these women are running around with new cars, brand new Ladas, wearing brand new furs, going out to dinner every night. They are living high on the deaths of these men. That's one of the reasons why the Russians are so sure of their victory. Russians working in the defense sector are doing great. Their incomes have doubled in the last year, from about $10,000 a year to $20,000, beating the cost of living increases. They think they're doing great. That bubble is about to burst. Well, not about to burst. You know, the Lithuanian military intelligence believes Russia can continue at this pace for another 2.5 years. I find that very difficult to believe. I do not believe that the Russian economy is going to survive the December budget reconciliations. It is old habits passed down from Soviet times, passed down from imperialist times, to hide all your losses until the last minute and only then reconcile the budget. The truth of how desperate the Russian economy is will not be visible to us until December. And then it'll be visible to the whole world and Russia itself. Do you know the Russians don't even know why they're having gas shortages? The Russians don't even know why there are gas shortages in Russia. The papers are blaming it. Get this. This is my favorite line from the Russian press lately. They are blaming it on seasonal demand. Military demand first. Seasonal demand for the harvest and for tourism and travel. As if. And the last thing is, are you ready for this? Unscheduled refinery repairs. Now, I saw a video piece by an investigative journalist from Mordovia, which is like in central Russia, Channel 24, who did an investigation into why there's a gas crisis inside of Russia. The best he could come up with was a Russian oil executive who assured him that this was not a global shortage. And he could not go the next logical leap and say, oh, well, then this is just a Russian shortage? That a country that is nothing but a gas station with nukes is out of gas? Is that what you're telling me? Yeah, that's what we're telling you. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Meanwhile, the best estimates now say that Russian refining capacity is down somewhere between 23 and 27%. And it's my opinion that it should go to zero. That the Ukrainians should hit it all. Stop pussyfooting around and worrying about the world economy. The Saudis and OPEC Plus have put 2.5 million more barrels of oil on the market since Russian production has dropped. They're ready to put another 3 million on the market and make up all that Russia, all of the Russian oil that we lose. So there is no reason why Ukraine shouldn't smash Russian oil infrastructure until production is at zero. Knock it out. Knock it out. Bring them to their knees. Let's see Putin swinging from a lamppost in Red Square, huh? Other final thoughts, questions, comments, anything from anybody? Scott agrees. Take the oil out. I'm with you, Scott. Bunker busters are a problem because Ukraine doesn't have them. Like, it's just that simple. A bunker buster, to be clear, is a missile that's got two warheads on it. The first warhead punches a hole in a reinforced building or emplacement. And then the second warhead is able to pass through that hole to destroy what's inside. Now, the Taurus missile features this, but unfortunately, Germany is not going to provide any Taurus missiles to Ukraine. I don't know, Mark. There are proven oil reserves here. There are oil platforms in the Black Sea that go back and forth all the time. Ukrainian control, Russian control. Ukrainian control, Russian control. The Ukrainians are always blowing up radar emplacements and spy equipment on these unmanned platforms and taking them back, and then again. Well, Putin's palace in Sochi, right, Morgan, if that's what you're getting at, I do think it is important to point out to everybody that Putin's $2 billion palace in Sochi, he leveled to the ground himself rather than let the Ukrainians bomb it. His $2 billion palace with its golden toilets, he leveled to the ground himself rather than give the Ukrainians the satisfaction. And frankly, that right there, in the microcosm of that action, is exactly what he's doing with the entire Russian Federation. He will level it all to the ground rather than give the Ukrainians the satisfaction. Ukraine isn't going to destroy Russia. The West isn't going to destroy Russia. That's a fact, Elksy. Look it up. That's a fact. The West isn't going to destroy Russia. Ukraine isn't going to destroy Russia. Vladimir Putin will go down in history as the Tsar of Ashes, the destroyer of Russia. 500 years of Russian language, culture, and civilization are about to be erased from history. The very thing he tried to do, destroy the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian language, Ukrainian history, Ukraine's place in the world, will be visited upon the Russian language, Russian culture, and Russian society by him through his febrile actions. Right, that's karma, baby. And karma is a bitch. Anything else? I'm so pleased that all of you were able to join me today. You know, it's too early for my American audience. Some of you are up late, though, I see. Hey, Chris. To Flying Dutch Mom, I don't want to disagree with you, but I'm afraid I have to disagree with you. And you should read the UN report on what's happening to those children. And then you will understand that the vast majority of them will never grow up. They don't have a future. It's not just the children that were stolen, their futures were stolen. Thanks, Mark Montgomery. I'm doing okay, Chris. How you doing? It's 11:30 a.m. here in Kyiv, just about 1:30 a.m. in San Francisco. Yo, Lau, are you in San Fran? One of my favorite towns on this planet, pal. Love it. Some of the best Indian food in the world I've ever had was in San Francisco. Along with everything else, right? Love San Francisco. Love going across the bridge out to Muir Woods. There's a guy with a stand there, fruit and vegetable stand, who also sells some great salamis and smoked meats and cheeses. Love stocking up on that with a couple of bottles of wine. What countries are the safest to live in? What do I look like, Michael? Google? Do you have Google? Use it. The subject here is Ukraine. Illinois is in the house. Hey, mine. I do love Chicago. I've spent a lot of time in the art museum down on Lake Michigan. It's a great museum. You can be lost in there for days. Hey, Paul. How you doing, buddy? Scotty, they sure do. And it ain't gonna stop. I'll tell you, this is my prediction, right? Like, first, we saw Ukraine just taking it on the chin, trying to secure their borders. Push the Russians out of Kyiv, out of Kharkiv, out of Kherson. That was the first stage of the war. Then the drones came, and they started fighting back with drones. And that froze the line, deadlocked the front line. That drone wall. Then they began experimenting with long-range drones and developing long-range drones. And every once in a while, we would see a strike on Russian positions inside Russia, right? And I want to point out that Russian strategy has not evolved at all in this conflict. It has devolved, if anything. We've gone from large armored column assaults to tiny little infiltration groups crawling on their bellies under thermal blankets for kilometers to get behind Ukrainian lines, hiding in the ruins of the nightmare that they have created. While we've seen Ukrainians evolve a strategy. So we went from 1 or 2 hits inside Russia to an invasion of Russia that still holds territory. For 1 year, 1 month, and 5 days, Ukrainians have been waking up and going to bed in control of Russian territory. That is a feat that no one has accomplished since 1944. Not to be forgotten. Then the drone strikes started to ramp up. And like every week, we'd see some kind of a drone strike on Russian infrastructure. Now those strikes come daily. And we are about to evolve from a time of small, like the biggest warhead on a Ukrainian long-range drone is 250 kilograms, about 500 pounds. The average warhead on a Ukrainian long-range drone is about 100 kilos, about 200 pounds of TNT equivalent. The Flamingo has a 1,050 kilogram charge, 10 times that of the average long-range Ukrainian drone. We are about to evolve from long-range drone strikes on Russian infrastructure into the age of long-range Ukrainian domestically produced cruise and ballistic missiles peppering Russian infrastructure every single night. Ukraine will soon be in a position to bring Russian refining capacity to zero, to bring Russian oil exports to zero. And that is a future that we should all believe in. Dive hard, I wouldn't suggest that Russia doesn't have the resources. I would suggest that rather the kind of top-down, centralized, autocratic regime that Russia is, that depends so intensely on the opinions of a single strongman dictator who can never be wrong, is a fatal flaw and has led to a failed society and culture. It's why 100 years from now, no one will speak Russian. The language is a dead language already. They just don't know it yet. Nobody wants to hear it spoken. Nobody wants these people around. The age of Russian culture is coming to its end, and it has been brought about by the Kremlin itself. Make no mistake, history will not be kind to this regime, or to the enablers of this regime that are currently sitting in the White House doing their level best to drag American democracy down into the muck with these dictators. Oh, I can't even watch a cabinet meeting anymore. I mean, it's obscene. It's like watching Kim Jong-un get his ass kissed by his sycophants in North Korea. Where's the beach? That's another great handle. Dude, they have great beaches in this town. And I gotta tell you, I was very disappointed the first 2 summers I was here. I never got to the beach. And then this summer, I was able to get to the beach almost every Saturday. And one Tuesday. And it was phenomenal. Some of the best beach days I've had in years. He cannot give up his invasion, Finbo. That is not an option for him. If he gives up this invasion, if he gives in a single inch, the Russian people will tear him to shreds or have him swinging from a lamppost in Red Square. How do you do?
Цветы где продают здесь? Цветы.
Я американец. Вибачте. Very much so, Dive Hard. Very much so. I agree. I agree. Okay. Guys, I got to call it a day. I got to get on with my life here. But I'm very grateful to everybody for joining in. Thank you. Yes, Ukraine is striking targets as far into Russia as 1,000 miles. Actually, I think the record distance now is, I can't remember if it's 1,300 kilometers. No, it's 2,000 kilometers. which is what, about 1,400 miles, if I'm not mistaken. Honestly, you'd have to fact check me on that. I'm not sure. It might be 2,000 miles, which is what, like 2,800 kilometers? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's very tough because I'm an American and all I think in is miles, and everything is measured in kilometers, and so I'm always wrong. I always remember the wrong thing. Hey everybody, there's Derek Sands. Say hello to Derek Sands. Thank you. Thanks for joining in, pal. Hey, there's Betty Thompson. Oh, you're up late, love. How you doing? Well, thanks, mine. I sure appreciate it. Thank you, Flying Dutch Mom. Love your handle. Have a great day, Chris. Thank you so much. Hey, Paul Love. There's a buddy of mine. Renvok. The current range of the flamingo is only 3,000 kilometers, so it cannot reach Mar-a-Lago, I'm afraid. Not yet. Not yet. All right, kids. I'm going to call it a day. Take care. Talk to you later, everybody.